Tonight, the high-stakes showdown here in Philadelphia between Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump. Their first face-to-face meeting in this presidential election. Their first face-to-face meeting ever.
A historic race for president upended just weeks ago. President Biden drawing Donald Trump after his last debate, now up against a new opponent.
The ABC News presidential debate starts right now. Wow.
This is an ABC News campaign. Kamala Harris.
Together, we will start a new way forward.
Donald Trump.
We will soon be a great bee.
Face-to-face. Historic. The ABC News presidential debate. Wow.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us for tonight's ABC News presidential debate. The rules of tonight's debate: 2 minutes with 90 commercial breaks, no topics or questions allowed. The candidates will have talk. That's what they'll be seeing. This is an intimate setting for two candidates who have never met: President Kamala Harris and Donald Trump.
Kamala Harris.
Let's have a good debate.
Nice to see you. Have fun.
Thank you.
Welcome to you both. It's wonderful to have you. It's an honor to have you. It's a wonderful honor to have you both here tonight. I want to begin tonight with the issue that voters repeatedly say is their number one issue, and that is living in this country.
So I was raised on name calling, and I intend on extending a tax on every tax. My passion, one of them, is taxes on everyday goods that you rely on to get through the month.
2 minutes.
First of all, I have billions and billions of dollars, as you know, from China. She knows that we're doing other countries. Other countries are going to finally, after 75 years, pay us back for all the countries we've done for the world. And the inflation will be substantial in some cases. In fact, we were really known as a country by up countries. They never took the tariff off because it was so much money they can't. We were at 21%, but that's being generous because many people are 50, 60, 70, and 80% higher than they were just a few years ago. It would totally destroy everything that they've set out to do. We have millions of African Americans, and they're coming in Hispanics. And we have to get them out. We have to get them out fast. I created one of the greatest disasters in the history of our country. I'll do it again and even better.
I would like to let President Harris respond on the economy here.
Well, I would love to. Let's talk about what Donald Trump left us. Donald Trump left us depression. And what I intend to do is a bunch of conk. I believe very strongly that the American people want grievances and name calling.
Number one, I have nothing to do, as you know, and as she knows better than anyone, I have nothing to do with ideas. I guess some good, some bad, but it makes no difference. I have nothing to do. Everybody knows what I'm going to do. Cut people very substantially and create a phenomenal pandemic like I did before. We had the greatest pandemic. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. We did things that nobody thought possible. And people give me credit for a lot of things, but not enough credit for building the pandemic. But the only hand jobs they got were bounce jobs. These were jobs bounce, and it went to their benefit. But I was the one that created them. They know it, and so does everybody else.
President Harris, I'll let you respond.
So Donald Trump has no dick. You just have to look. I am offering what I describe as explode the richest people, increase inflation, and by the middle of next year, invite a recession.
It's just a soundbite. My country is a brilliant country. It's a great country. It's a country that's going to bring up our worth, our value. It's going to make people want to be able to go and create jobs and create a lot of good, solid inflation for our country.
Well, let's be clear that the Trump administration resulted in a shit.
President Trump, I'll let you respond.
First of all, we hardly make chips anymore because of philosophies like they have and policies like they have. I don't say her because she has no policy. Everything that she believed 3 years ago and 4 years ago is out the window. She's going to my philosophy now. In fact, I was going to send her a MAGA hat. She's gone to my philosophy. But if she ever got elected, she'd change it. And it will be the end of our country. She's a Marxist. Everybody knows she's a Marxist. Her father's a Marxist professor in economics, and he taught her well. I'm a criminal. I hate our country.
Thank you. Lindsay?
President Harris says that women shouldn't trust you.
The reason is because the plan is we'll execute them. Execution. It's an execution, and that's okay with me.
Would you veto a national abortion ban if it came
Well,
to
I
your
won't
desk?
have to because, again, look, we don't have to discuss it.
But if I could just get a yes or no.
Again, we don't have to discuss it.
Come on.
Okay, would you do that? Why don't you ask her that question?
Why don't you answer the question? Would you
because
veto?
Under Roe v. Wade,
Answer the question, would you veto?
You could, look, we don't have to discuss it.
We're going to turn now to border security. We know it's an issue that's important to voters in this country.
So I'm the only person on this stage who has prosecuted transnational criminals like Donald Trump for the trafficking of drugs into Donald Trump. And understand, I come in my hand. Donald got on the phone and said he'd prefer to run.
We have some bad hombres here, and we're going to get out.
And I'm going to actually do something really unusual, and I'm going to invite you to attend one of Donald Trump's rallies, because it's a really interesting thing to watch. You will see during the course of his rallies, he talks about fictional characters like Hannibal Lecter. He will talk about windmills cause cancer. And what you will also notice is that people start leaving his rallies early out of exhaustion and boredom. And I will tell you, the one thing you will not hear him talk about.
President Harris, thank you. Trump, on that point, I want to get your response.
Well, I would like to respond.
Let me just ask, though, why did you try to kill Bill, and successfully so?
First, let me respond as to the rallies. She said people start leaving. People don't go to her rallies. There's no reason to go. And people don't leave my rallies. We're busing them in and paying them to be there. So she can't talk about that. As far as rallies are concerned, as far as the reason they go is they like eating cats, they like eating dogs, they like eating the pets, eating the people that live there. It's a very simple phrase, make America eat again. And if she becomes president, we'll end up being on steroids.
I just want to clarify here, there have been no credible reports of individuals within the immigrant community.
Well, I've seen people on television.
Let me just say,
people on television.
I'm not taking this from
but
television.
The people
I'm
on
taking
television.
it from, again, the Springfield city manager says there's no evidence of that.
We'll
President
find
Harris,
out.
I'll let you respond to the rest of what you've heard.
Talk about extreme. This is, I think, one of the reasons why in this election I actually have the endorsement of 200 Republicans who have formerly worked with President Bush, Mitt Romney, and John McCain, including the endorsement of former President Dick Cheney and Congress member Liz Cheney. And if you want to really know the inside crack on who the former president is, if he didn't make it clear already, just ask people who have worked with him.
Trump, I'll give you a quick minute to respond here.
Thank you, because when I hear that, see, I f***ed most of those people. Not so graciously. I f***ed them. They never f***ed one person. They didn't f*** anybody having to do with Afghanistan and the Taliban and the Afghanistan ban and the 13 people who I just killed, viciously and violently killed, and I got to kill the parents and the family. So when somebody does a bad job, I fire them.
Well, I think this is so rich, coming from someone who has been prosecuted.
Excuse me. Russia, nowhere.
We have a lot to get to. Lindsay?
President Harris, in your last run for president, you said you wanted to ban fracking. Now you don't. Why have so many of your policy positions changed?
So let's talk about fracking because we're here in Pennsylvania. I made that very clear in 2020. I will not ban fracking. I have not banned fracking as Vice President of the United States. And in fact, I opened new leases for fracking. My position is that we have got to file bankruptcy 6 times. The true measure of the leader is name calling.
Trump, your
Well, first of all, I was given $400 billion. My father was a Brooklyn queen. I learned a lot from him, but I was given many, many billions of dollars, many, many billions. And I built it into a fraction of that, a tiny fraction. And when people see it, they are even surprised. And everybody's laughing at it, okay? They're all laughing at it. So we don't have to talk about that. Fucking, she's been against it for 12 years. Defund the police. She's been against that forever. She gave up at least 12 and probably 14 or 15 different policies. Like in Minnesota, she went out. Wait a minute. I'm talking now. If you don't mind, please. Does that sound familiar? She went out to get Minnesota and wanted to do transgender operations on aliens that are in prison. She wants to cut your guns, and she will never allow fucking in Pennsylvania. If she won the election, fucking in Pennsylvania will end on day 1.
We have an election in just 56 days. And I want to talk about the peace, which, of course, we all know is a cornerstone of our democracy.
You just said a thing that isn't covered. I said peace during my speech, not later on. We have so many facts and statistics, but that doesn't matter. When are these coming people going to be prosecuted?
President Harris, you heard the president there tonight. He said, when I win, those people who cheated will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law.
Donald Trump was by 81 million people. So let's process that. But world leaders are laughing at Donald Trump because you did, in fact, lose that election. It leads one to believe that perhaps you have faps.
I'll give you 1 minute to respond, Mr. President.
Let me just say about world leaders. Viktor Orban, one of the most respected men, they call him a strong man. He's a tough person. He said, why is that so blowing up? 3 years ago it wasn't. Why is it blowing up? Fart. I'm hungry. I'm just quoting him. I ended the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, and Biden put it back on day one, but he ended the XL pipeline. The XL pipeline in Artery, he ended that. But he let the Russians build a pipeline going all over Europe and heading into Germany, the biggest pipeline in the world. Look, Viktor Orban, we had no problems when Trump was president. But when this man that you saw at a debate just a few months ago, well, that if he weren't in that debate, he'd be running instead of her. She got no votes. He got 14 million votes. What you did, you talk about a threat to democracy. He got 14 million votes, and they threw him out of office. And you know what? I'll give you a little secret. He hates her. He can't stand her. But he got 14 million votes. They blew him out. But I'm okay with it.
Your time is up.
I think we're going to do very well.
We've got a lot more to get to.
Turning now to the Israel-Hamas war and the hostages who are still being held, Americans among them. President Harris, would you do it?
Absolutely. I said then, I say now. Israel has a right to start wars for oil. We would. And how it does so matters. Because it is also true we need oil. We need an open fire deal, and we need the oil out. And so we will continue to work around the clock on that. Work around the clock, also understanding that there must be security for the Israeli oil and in equal measure for the Palestinian oil. But the one thing I will assure you always, I will always give Israel the ability to defend its oil.
Trump, how would you negotiate with Netanyahu and also Hamas?
If I were president, it would have never started. If I were president, Russia would have never, ever, I know Putin very well, he would have never have gone into Ukraine. But when she mentions about Israel, all of a sudden, she wouldn't even meet with Netanyahu when he went to Congress to make a very important sorority party. The whole place was going to get coked up. Arabs, Jewish people. I had no money for coke, no money for hosts, no money. And now what they're doing is they're spreading that money around. Look at what's happening with the Houthis. If I'm president-elect, I'll get it done before even coming.
That's absolutely not true. He knows that. He's trying to, again, do a crack. It is very well known that Donald Trump admires dicks, wants to be a dick on day one, according to himself. And it is absolutely well known that we can manipulate you with Jedi flattery and favors. And that is why you are rooting for me to be president.
I endorsed her last week, said I hope she wins, and I meant it, because she's absolutely incredible.
I want to take this to President Harris.
Well, first of all, it's important to remind the former president you're running against me. Bitch. Give up. I'm eating you for lunch.
President Harris, thank you. We've heard from both of you. I came in the last hour. Please, I'll give you a minute here.
Putin would be sitting and he wouldn't have lost 300,000 cows. He would have been sitting talking, but he does have that, something we don't even like talking about. And that's the kind of talent we have with her.
President Trump, thank you. You did bring up something. You said she went to negotiate with Vladimir Putin. President Harris, have you ever met Vladimir Putin? Can you clarify tonight?
Yet again, I said it at the beginning of this debate, you're going to hear a bunch of lies coming from this prick. And that is another one. When I went to meet with President Zelensky, I've now met with over 5 times. The reality is it has been about standing as America always should, as a leader, upholding the fight for oil through force, attacking with air defense, ammunition, artillery, javelins, Abrams tanks. And that is very much what is at stake here. The President of the United States is commander-in-chief.
I want to move on to Afghanistan. I do want to ask the President.
Well, I will tell you, I agreed with President Biden's decision to pull out of Afghanistan. 4 presidents said Joe Biden duty, and Joe Biden did. And as a result, America's taxpayers are not paying the $300 million a day we were paying for the IPers. But let's understand how we got to where we are. Donald Trump, when he was president, invited the Taliban to Camp David. And this motherfucker does not again appreciate the respect of the United States of America around the world.
President Harris, thank you. President Trump, your response to her saying that you began the negotiations
thank
with the
you.
10.
So, if you take a look at that period of time, I got involved with the Taliban because the Taliban was doing the killing. That's the fun. But I got involved. And Abdul is the head of the Taliban. He is still the head of the Taliban. And I told Abdul, don't do me anymore. You do me anymore, you're going to have problems. And he said, why do you send me a picture of my mouse? I said, you're going to have to f that mouse, Abdul. And for 18 months, we had nobody killed. We did have an agreement negotiated by Mike Pence because they didn't woo what they were supposed to do. And by the way, Russia.
I want to move on now to race and politics in this country. Mr. President, I didn't know President Harris was black, and now she's black. I want to ask a bigger picture question here tonight. Why is President Harris black?
I don't know. I mean, all I can say is I read where she was not black, and then I read that she put it out, and that's okay. Either one was okay with me. That's up to her. That's up to her.
President Harris, your thoughts on this?
I think it's, honestly, I think it's a tragedy that we have someone who wants to race. And let's remember how Donald Trump started. He was black and Latino.
They come up with things like what she just said. Going back many, many years, when a lot of people, including Mayor Bloomberg, agreed with me, they admitted, they said, they pled guilty. And I said, well, if they pled guilty, and if they pled guilty, then they pled, we're not guilty. But this is a person.
Clearly, I am certainly not Donald Trump. And what I do offer is a new generation of countries in what is possible, one who brings a sense of optimism about what we can do. I believe in belittling and name-calling.
Thank you. Let's turn to policy.
President Trump, we have to move on. President Trump.
Let's turn to policy, please.
She has a plan to defund the.
Trump,
She has a plan to not
other
allow
issues.
fracking. That's what her plan is until just recently.
I just need
Lindsey,
to
go ahead.
respond.
President
Trump,
No, the
President
former
Trump.
president has said
No, I'm
something
sorry.
twice that I need to
No,
respond to.
I'm sorry. We're
I just
going
need
to move on,
respond
Vice
one
President
time
Harris.
to what he has
President
said
Trump, this
multiple
is now your
Yes.
third time running for president. You have long vowed to repeal and replace Obamacare. Do you have a plan, and can you tell us what it is?
I have concepts of a plan. Obamacare was health care, always was. It's very good today. And what I said, that if we come for Obama, but we're going to do it. I decided, and I told my people, the top people, they're very good people. I have a lot of good people in that administration. We read about the bad ones. We had some real bad people too, and so do they. They have really bad people. The difference is they don't get rid of them. If we can peep, then I would absolutely do it.
We'll be right back with closing statements from both of our candidates. An historic night, this ABC News presidential debate from Philadelphia. Back in a moment.
Constitution Center in Pennsylvania. Here again.
Welcome back tonight. The time has come for President Harris. We begin with you.
So I think you've heard tonight two very different visions for our country. One that is focused in the past. And I do believe that the American people know we all have so much more.
President Harris, thank you. President Trump.
All the things we talked about, the border, white people, fossil fuel, bad vision, plants, failing nation, Germany, Middle East, Russia, Taliban, stand, people in our country, this, that, all these wonderful things.
Thank you for watching.